right, we're going to call the June 23rd meeting of the Municipal Airport Authority to order. Let's see, can you guys hear me?
Give us a thumbs up.
Give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. Hear me?
All right, Jason.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Sounds good. And
If you just keep your phones on mute until we call on you, or if you have a comment, let us know.
sounds good? All right. First thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Municipal Airport Authority held June 9th. Are there any revisions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes stand approved as printed. Let's see, number 2, approve the airport vouchers totaling $35,528.82. Any questions?
Motion to approve items 2 and 3.
Items 2 and 3 to approve, okay? Is there a second?
I will second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve items 2 and 3. Roll call vote.
Engen,
Aye.
Lind,
Aye.
Haugen,
Aye.
Cosgriff,
He's muted.
Cosgriff,
He's muted.
He's muted.
Aye.
Lind.
Thank you. Aye. Receive communication from SP Plus regarding parking agreement modification options.
Okay, with us on Zoom today is Brad McAllister, the regional manager for the West Airports for SP Plus. I think he's down in Texas, and Jason Finch, the senior vice president for West Airports. He's up early in San Francisco this morning, so thanks for joining us. But you have a communication before you from SP Plus looking to alter the agreement that we entered into in 2019 that had a guaranteed annual minimum. And as you're aware, when COVID hit, SP Plus approached us about waiving the minimum annual guarantee, of which we did, which was $2.7 million, and just go to a straight percentage. And they're working with their airports across the country to stop the bleeding, I guess, if you will, from the impact of COVID on all airport operations, including parking. So with that, they've presented a couple of options to us. One, to continue with the current agreement, obviously less the MAG, with various thresholds of percentage of revenue sharing with us, or to convert to a management agreement. And I think I'll turn it over to Brad or Jason to, I guess, go through the ideas that they have and see what the board would like to do.
Sure. Thank you, Sean. Yeah, it is early here in San Francisco, but you got me out of my spinning class in the living room, so we'll call it evening.
Good.
We're very appreciative. As Sean said, I'm Jason Finch, Senior Vice President. Brad is my regional manager with direct oversight of our Fargo operation, and he's based in Austin. And again, I'm very, very appreciative of this opportunity to bring our request to you this morning to talk about either changing the terms of the current deal or the structure of our concession agreement. And this truly is a result of the ongoing pandemic that everybody is really aware of, that it really just brought all of our airport operations, 70 plus around the nation, to a complete halt in mid-March, and then hopefully we're hoping April is really what we consider rock bottom. But a little bit as a backdrop to just how bad the situation is. As you guys certainly know, the airport's employments dropped by 96% and 86% in March and April, while parking revenue those same 2 months dropped by 94% and 89% versus the prior year. And these numbers are very consistent within the range that we're seeing around the country as well at our other airports. And as a result of travel coming to a near halt, we generated just under $20,000 in the entire month of April. And although we worked with Sean and staff to immediately cut our costs, particularly labor, to reflect this much lower demand, after paying the airport the percentage rent of $7,000, there simply just isn't enough revenue net of percentage rent to even cover our basic operating costs. So we've begun to incur material losses that we just can't sustain. When we submitted back in 2018, the financial terms were really based on years of historical revenue and employment growth, and particularly the percentage tiers. where's a real concern about airport travel coming to a complete stop. So what we provided you with today are two options. The first would be to just maintain the existing concession agreement, but alter the percentage rent tiers so that the tiers cover fixed costs. And then before we would share any revenue with the airport, but then again, like it is today, the tiers do heavily favor the airport in terms of all new revenue that's coming in. And because snow removal is just one of those unpredictable costs, it has been all over the place. In the model, we have placed a cap on snow, so anything in excess of the 5-year average would be covered by the airport. The second option is to convert the deal to a more traditional and transparent management agreement, whereby SP Plus would be reimbursed for all of the operating expenses that we incur in a conformance to a budget that would be approved and reviewed by the airport, and we receive a management fee for our services. The second option seems to be the one that's preferred by many of our clients as we've gone around the country trying to fix deals that are broken, and it's primarily due to a couple of reasons. Airport transparency over all the operating costs, service level, but also because under the management agreement we incur much less risk, therefore our reward, our fee is lower as well. And two, the airports have determined that operating expenses could be covered by funding from the CARES Act as well. So, example of the benefit to the airport, while no one knows when 2019 revenues or when we'll return to revenues from the 2019 level, if we just input the proposed budget into both the lease and the management agreement terms, the airport would earn over $163,000 more based on 2019 revenues as well. So those are the two scenarios we put before you. We've also included some language about the shuttle operation. As you may recall, in our proposal, we committed to operating a seasonal shuttle service from mid-December through the end of March for the first 2 years of our agreement. And that was really more due to the than expected timing of the escalated walkway. While we know that the service was appreciated by many of its users, we also understand the airport's real need to contain cost as well. But if it was something that you would like for us to continue, we haven't again built those costs into the model. But based on the first 2 years, it would be about $50,000 of additional expense to operate that for almost 4 months worth of service as well. So Sean, that's really what we've come before you this morning asking for. And again, we're humbled and we sincerely appreciate the immediate relief that you guys provided right out of the gate. But the reality is the old deal, those percentage rent tiers, unfortunately broke as a result of, and we truly appreciate consideration of these two options.
Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Sean, anything to add?
No, there's two options there. I guess the board members have had this information now in your packet. What is your desire?
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
a question for Jason.
Morning, John.
Jason, did you receive PPP funding?
No, as we are not eligible for any of the relief acts, either the DPP or anything from the CARES Act. We are a large public corporation. I am assured by our council on biweekly calls with our CEO and Chief Legal Officer that they are pursuing and looking at everything, but as of now, we have not been eligible for any type of relief. We're going one by one across our airports, John.
Okay.
Good question, John. Any other discussions, questions? And you, Jason, you said most of the
Madam Chairman, this is Mike.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe Sean could answer this, but would the shuttle be listed as an operating expense if we were to provide that covered under the CARES Act?
Yes.
Good. I know this shuttle is really appreciated, and I remember when we did that, it was obviously the hope that we might have a walkway, but I think people have really appreciated not gotten used to it, but I think the third year, that's something to consider. Any other comments? Questions? Motion?
So we really have two questions here, whether it's gonna be the existing, agreement or a management agreement.
Correct.
And then
Transportation.
in addition, excuse me, is the, transportation
Right.
shuttle, so.
Right. So choose one or two, or if there's other things, but I think these two are there's some good options, and then the shuttle.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
One other question here, and
Yep.
I'm having trouble with my computer trying to bring this up, but what's the term of the agreement?
We entered into a new 5-year agreement effective January 1st of 2018. So this would expire December 31st of 2023.
Okay. Given kind of the uncertain nature of everything here, should we consider a short term? Things can change. We know very quickly in 6 months. If this flips back, should we put at least an annual review on this? Or I'm really uncomfortable, going back into a long-term deal here as we're restructuring a long-term deal because of such dramatic changes.
Sure, we'd be open to, and we hope you're right. I mean, if you can kick that crystal ball over our way, we'd love to have our hands on it. But we would absolutely entertain, if conditions return to maybe the employment levels we went into the deal, then the old deal could kick back in with the original MAG, the original rent, the original tiers. It would make perfect sense. I mean, we're simply just trying to address the situation as we have now, but would be happy to return to the original deal as well when the conditions are right.
Would 6 months or a year seem reasonable to you?
I think a year would make great sense. I mean, there's still lots of term left in this. I think it'd be enough, particularly if you went with the managed agreement, for you to now be able to compare apples to apples and to see if you are financially doing better under the terms of a management agreement, because of course we've got a very low management fee and you're benefiting from any kind of revenue return as well. So at least a year, I think, would be a fair time to look back and see if you want to continue under the existing and the new terms or revert back to the old ones. Yeah.
Okay,
I
good.
guess the other way to do it would be, as you've mentioned, do a look back that whichever, we can look back and calculate, given the existing contract, and any time that was that would be the terms instead of going to these new terms.
Could you explain that again, what you just said, John?
Well, what you do is simply a look-back calculation that you would calculate the fees paid to them under the old agreement.
Right.
And then you compare that, and if the new agreement exceeded the old agreement, the amount paid would be the amount under the old agreement.
Okay.
We wouldn't end up kind of overshooting here and paying more than we would have been paying under the old agreement if things come back to that level.
Okay. Okay, other discussion?
I mean, sometimes you never know in a situation like this, but if suddenly, we had a huge surge in traffic and all of a sudden you're paying double what you would have under the old agreement, it's a little hard to take.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm not worried about that right now.
Yeah, I know.
And Jason, you're looking to make this effective July 1st of this year through June 30th if we do a 1 year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then at the 1 year, then we would take and reflect back and look at employments at that time. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
Or would we
Actually,
do
the-
ongoing
We
employments?
would look at the operation of the parking lot because sometimes there's not a correlation between
Yeah, that's true.
parking and passengers. Passengers could go up and everybody could be getting dropped off and
That's
riding.
right.
So we could have do wonderful passenger wise, but maybe people aren't using the parking lot. So it has to be based on the performance of the parking lot.
Okay. I do think that makes more sense.
If we did a 1 year, then we'd have the opportunity after a year to say, do we want to just
Yeah.
go back up to bid or change the model entirely, go to a self-park system, who knows what it might be.
Okay.
Was that a motion?
John, would you like to make that motion?
Well, Sean, and I'd like to hear your recommendation as to the managed services or the fee, percentage fee.
I'm comfortable with either one. I think Jason would tell you that the majority of their airports are switching to a management agreement. We have that option. We basically did this, our RFP in conjunction with the Sioux Falls Airport where they have the same agreement as we do. Obviously their MAG is a little bit different. I'm not sure what their options are looking there, but I do know that a number of airports are switching to the management agreement away from the current concession agreement.
And especially because the CARES Act covers the operations. That is helpful for us.
Madam Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the management agreement for a 1 year period from July 1 through June 30th of 2021.
Okay? Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to use the management agreement option 2 for effective 1 year, July 1st through June 30th, 2021. Any questions? Any further discussion?
Madam Chairman, I would also like to make the motion to extend the shuttle service
Okay.
in conjunction with the
Okay, hold on to that motion for a second. Why don't we vote on this motion?
Okay.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Engen,
Aye.
Lind,
Aye.
Cosgriff,
Aye.
Haugen,
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye. Okay, back to your vote.
Okay.
Back to your motion.
I don't know how long we want to make the shuttle transportation available, but we have 3 years of the CARES Act to use it. So,
Mhm.
would you like to go like 36 months?
Just do the next season.
Just
just
next
one
season?
Okay.
Season.
I'll make a motion to extend the shuttle service for the parking lot for
Okay.
one more season.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we continue the seasonal shuttle service from December 15th through March 31st, or 31st through, for 1 year at a cost of $50,000 per season. Any further discussion on that motion? Roll call vote.
Engen,
Aye.
Lind,
Aye.
Cosgriff,
Aye.
Haugen,
Aye.
Lynn.
Aye. Both motions carried. Thank you very much. Thanks for that.
Jason, you can work with Stacy. She's online there. Jason and Brad just kind of worked with Stacy on a draft of an amendment.
It's very nice to put a name with a face. Hi, Stacy.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks for your work. Let's see, number 5, received communication from Cityscapes Development regarding interest in purchasing a 1.1 acre parcel of MAA property.
Okay, Mr. Flaxbarth is here from Cityscapes, and this is the property to the west of Dakota Drive, north of 19th Avenue North, where the building site is in the process of being demolished. And they have an interest in purchasing the 1.1 acre tract of land that we have from Dakota Drive up to where the wood fence is, which is going to be repaired this week. And I don't know if you have any questions. Mr. Flaxbarth is here. This property was acquired with federal funding, so there would be quite a process to go through with release. Not that that's a reason not to do it or to do it. But, Mr. Mickle had the opportunity many, many years ago when Old 81 was rerouted for the state to basically move his business at no expense to another location, and I guess at the time it came to trial or whatever, eminent domain, and he backed out of the deal and stayed there. But nonetheless, now we're at this joint here. So I guess, Rick, if, what's the need for the property? And
What we would like to do is to have some additional property to do a project that we're looking at. We're still in kind of the development stage of it. We have an architect that is working on some design of the building. I have visited with Jeff a little bit as far as what there's some concerns as far as the structure for FAA purposes and so on. So we're trying to make sure that everything is done correctly. But having the additional land to the east, we're also trying to work with the city on the easement to the west. There really is no written easement onto the property. And that property originally was with the DOT, and then they transferred it to the county, and now the county is transferring it to the city. So there's quite a few layers to this onion. And same with the land where the structures are on. I received an email late last night. We finally got the phase 2 study completed, so we had to do some soil samples there and then get that to Bismarck for approval to actually dig up and get rid of the stuff that's on there, and then also have the ability to do some construction work on that. So this is, I think I started working with the owner's son. I look back at my notes, 2015. So this has been a 5-year project as far as to get to where we are today.
How many total acres then would it be?
There's only about 2/3 of an acre on what is currently where the structure is. It's not a full acre.
Okay.
And then the additional acreage to the east, Sean mentioned 1.1. I don't know where we're at with the city yet. We're working with Brenda Derrick down there on, there's a lift station there that comes off of 19th Avenue that has an easement through that because it drains into the drain there on the north side of the property. So that would have to be permanent that they would have access to that. And then also Burlington Northern, the railroad has some easement to the west as well. So again, there's plenty of layers to the onion here. So any questions?
So,
Question possibly for Stacy or Sean. Federal funds were used for the purchase. I don't know which agency, but are there provisions there for reuse or future use of the funds from that?
if we were to sell the property, the FAA would require those funds to be used towards eligible airport projects under the Airport Improvement Program and or PFC. So the funds would have to be dedicated for that purpose. But that process is in and of itself, I would guess, a minimum of 2 years to go through with the FAA, maybe longer.
Trying to get approval to use them, or?
No, we would have, as part of the FAA's approval of a sale and release of the property, they would spell out the terms with which the funds must be used. So we would receive them, put them into our account, but then we would have to use those funds in accordance with the FAA requirements. Or the FAA may want to be reimbursed their proportionate share.
Okay.
And there's no sale requirement, or does it have to be bid or appraised, or?
It would need to be appraised. I don't know about the bid requirement. It's possible they may require bids. We'd have to dig into that a little bit more, John.
Okay.
You know, it's kind of the front door to
Chairman,
the
Mike
airport. Go
Yes,
ahead.
Mike? Go ahead, Mike.
I'm reflecting back on last week's meeting, 2 weeks ago, where we're discussing sale of property on the far northeast side of the airport. This property right at our entrance area, and as you know, it's been kind of an eyesore, and it's being cleaned up now, but I'm very concerned about the sale of the property to turn into something that we regret later. I'm just a little concerned about the proximity to our entrance and what might be built there.
Okay. Eric, you can tell I'm looking for it, aren't you? Oh, thank you. Do you know what's going to be built or have any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, in general, as I talked to Sean, you know, it wouldn't be retail, it wouldn't be any type of a business, you know. We think it would be something where we would involve nonprofits. That's something that would be along those lines. We've hired an architect to kind of design the building for us, and General Hawking, that your concern certainly noted, but I can tell you that just some of the preliminary things that we're working on, you would not have a concern, and it certainly would be a nice building, showcase building compared to what is currently on the property.
Well, it's not hard to beat.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
I guess one of my concerns is our property is the right of entrance to the subject property that is being cleaned up. Is that correct?
There is an entrance on the west edge.
Yes, so there's an entrance on the west end, but entrance to Dakota Drive is given with our property, which substantially improves the value of their property. And I guess I would want to know all the nuances of whatever is going to be built on the subject properties before we would even consider the conversation.
Rick, maybe give me a little more what exactly.
Well, it is an entry point, and whatever, when you turn, you would see this, as you saw the old dilapidated farm sitting there. So whatever would be built there, obviously the entrance point to it, for the most part, from Dakota Drive would be enhanced by the ownership of whoever bought our property. And I guess, so I would want to know exactly what is going to be built there. We'd love to see renderings, but at this time, I'm concerned. I have more information,
Yeah.
a lot more information.
So maybe more information from Cityscapes, more information on the from the feds, what needs to be done if this did happen.
Well, Madam Chairman, to
Yes.
Rick's credit, the onion,
Yeah.
it is an onion because,
Yeah.
as you said, to the west, the unknown nature of the property, encroachments, easements, or rights from the city, railroad, the drainage ditch. You've got on three sides a lot of questions that I know take a while to answer. So,
Is what the architect working on include this property, or are you staying off the property? Does your
No,
project work
it is
without?
including in the property. There will be some setbacks. You know, we certainly won't be able to get close to Dakota Drive. And the entrance will always be off of Old Highway 81. There would not be an entrance off of Dakota Drive.
Yeah, I'll just be upfront. I have no interest in selling the property. We should hold on to it and keep it for a future date, but that's my opinion. But it's up to the members of the board what they want to do, but I have no interest in selling the property, period.
well, Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I appreciate the fact that they're cleaning up the property
Yeah.
or helping the current owner
Yeah.
clean it up and get the rights figured out, rights and restrictions figured out. I do appreciate that greatly. I would agree with Sean that I have concerns until we would see something in a rendering or some form or fashion.
Okay. Let's see. Really, we don't need a motion because we're just receiving the information and communication on it. Maybe what we do is, as you see the renderings, just keep us in the loop. And, but it looks like the majority of, or some of the board's not interested at this time.
Okay.
But thank you so much, and we appreciate, like he said, like Rick said, cleaning up the property and really doing some due diligence on it. It's been a long project for you, I know.
Yes, it has.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Received communication from Dave Courier, Air Condo Association, requesting extension.
Dave is the representative contact for the Air Condo Association. It's a 4-unit hangar in the South General Aviation area. And you can see it on here. It is this hangar right here, north of the Fargo Air Museum. All 4 units are occupied. Dave Courier has his unit leased to the Fargo Air Museum. Fargo Air Museum does own one of the units. Joel Nykel has another unit in there, and then Jeff Jones owns a unit which is for sale, as he told me last week, and currently it's being used by Fargo Jet Center. Right now they have an aircraft in there. So a 5-year extension would be warranted if you so choose.
Madam Chairman, I would also like to get an inspection of those hangars to see if what they're being used for. If they're
There's
not
airplanes in them.
Well, I know. I'm right there all the time, and I don't ever see any airplanes coming in and out of there. So I would just like to get a look at them before we extend the lease on those hangars,
Now,
just to make sure they're being appropriated accordingly.
I think we discussed this 2 meetings ago to make sure that we have, we're looking at what's in the hangars.
Well, the language is going to be that they're subject to an annual inspection.
Okay,
And I gathered information from multiple airports in the area. Stacy has copies of those things. Minneapolis Airport is probably 11, 12 pages, way over the top in terms of what they require. But the difference is that they own the majority of their hangars because they enact what's called the reversionary clause. So if somebody gets a 20-year ground lease today, at the end of that term, the hangar reverts to the airport, period. That's what happens with the reversionary clause. We've chosen to allow 5-year extensions and in some cases 10-year extensions. We'll be talking about that with Dakota Airports. Others, like I say, it's basically subject to an annual inspection, and that's basically as simple as the terms can be.
and that's in the contract.
Well, it will be. We're
in the
going to
lease.
specify the contract, but I believe we do have the rights of going in regardless, because the fire department has the right
Yep.
to an annual fire inspection as well.
Okay.
So just in the structural, that's in the city ordinance. So
Okay.
we can piggyback on that, or we can start to add more specific language into the leases, as was requested that last time. And we haven't finalized the Dick Springer one. Stacy and I haven't been able to connect since the last meeting to finalize that. We have exchanged some language, but
Okay.
trying to keep it very specific, but yet very, I guess, I don't know, simple, if you will.
Okay.
Some of these airports have gone completely over the top
Okay.
on the language that they've included. So I'll get a hold of Dave Courier and see if he can get access. I know Ryan Thayer is on board, the new executive director from the Air Museum is on, and Ryan, I'll get a hold of you, get access to your 2 units, and we should be able to get that done yet today or tomorrow.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
subject to that review,
Mhm.
I would request approval or extension of those leases.
Okay. Is
Are
there
you
a
okay
second?
with that?
John? Or,
I'll second.
okay, thank you.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we, the Air Condo Association, we extend the South General Aviation Area Hangar ground lease with it's subject to an annual inspection and one that would be done before.
Right.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote.
Megan?
Aye.
Lynn?
No.
Cosgriff?
Aye.
Haugen?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye. Okay, thank you. And so you and Stacy are working on that language for the inspections, correct?
I don't know what else to do for you, but
No,
we'll go and
that's.
take a look at it.
Yeah, just take a look, and and like you said, some airports are gone way, I appreciate that you're gonna do something simple, yet specific, so. Okay, 7, receive communication from Dakota Air Parts requesting extension of ground lease.
Okay, Sean Johnston is here representing Barb and Casey McCon, so the floor is yours.
Okay, so we've been longtime tenants on the airport here. We were originally at the old terminal building where we had offices, and then I believe, I guess it's been almost 20, getting close to 20 years, 16 years that we've been at the hangar just north of the old terminal building. We're trying to do some long-term planning currently and looking at some construction projects we've been flirting with on and off the last few years. And just thought this would be a good time to look for a lease extension with our current hangar. I own the hangar, but the ground lease needs to be extended. And just wanted to come forward and ask you guys for that at this time.
Okay, it doesn't expire till 2024, so if the board wants to wait or grant that now, that's your decision.
Yeah, it is a little early. You know, as I said, we're going through some long-term planning currently. We do have some property adjacent to the airport on the north side. We are looking at some construction there. And that's one of the reasons that we're looking at this time, is just trying to make sure that, you know, we're pretty committed to the Fargo area, but we want to have a long-term commitment here and make sure that we're not going to run into some roadblocks a few years down the road.
How many airworthy aircraft are in there? Casey told me yesterday was 2 Bell helicopters and...
Yeah, so we've had 2 Bell 206s stationed there. Both of them are currently out for annual at the moment. And then we don't currently have space, but we're currently, I'm working on making space to put the Pilatus PC-12 back in the hangar, which has currently been at the Fargo Jet Center. We've got 10 UH-1s, which are non-flyable at the moment, came out of the Royal New Zealand Air Force a couple years ago, and so we've been storing them in there, and we're looking at relocating those so we can put the Pilatus back in the actual hangar.
Okay.
So you're looking for a 10-year extension?
Extension.
Yep, that's right.
So it would be 2034?
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion?
I have no discussion.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
being the new guy here, more questions.
No, that's good, John.
This is the land lease, are they traditionally 10 years in length, and when do they traditionally renew, or?
Traditionally, they're 5 years, but we have granted 3 10-year extensions, 2 of them most recently to Dick Springer. Francis Butler got one, and Fargo Jet Center got one for the former VIX hangar. This would be the 4th 10-year extension. And if
Is there escalator on the rents on that?
no, we haven't. They're still at 8 cents per square foot per annum, and then the North J is 10 cents. That's always subject on the anniversary date to change. Every year on the anniversary date it could change, but we haven't changed those rents for some years on the ground rent. They may be due for a 2-cent adjustment at some point here.
Okay.
And Michonne, 8 cents a square foot compared to the other land leases, we were talking in the 25, 35, 40 cents a square foot.
Yeah, commercial is 25 cents right now. Yeah, the commercial rate for cargo.
Can you get that bearing? And what's the difference, the valuation, property difference that would change between 8 cents and 25?
I think the use, private use for hangars is substantially less because of the process with which that you need to go through to get access to the property and so forth. It's been a few years since we've had the commercial realtors take a look to give an updated recommendation for those GA hangars, but I know that it's less than what it would be for like a UPS or FedEx operation. And even the Cass County Sheriff's Office over there is paying 25 cents. But the GA hangars within the fence have been, 8 and 10 cents for some time. It's possibly they could go to, 10 and 12. But like I say, the ground rent isn't. We don't make a lot of money on that, and most airports don't. But if that's something that you want to take a look
No,
at.
I'm more concerned with understanding kind of the consistency. If we laid this all out on the grid and said, why is this 8, why is this 25?
Yeah, I guess that's a path that the board went down many, many years ago, before my time. But and it's been pretty consistent. I think if you look at the CPI, on the 25 cents, I think at one point we could have justified 27 cents possibly, and now with COVID and so forth, it's probably about 24, 23 in that area. So they seem to be pretty satisfied with that. But all the leases do give us the option to change the rent on every anniversary date, and that's annual anniversary date.
Good question, John.
Yeah, I was just thinking, there, a lot of times there's escalators built in, so.
Yeah, we do in
And
these,
again,
yeah.
we're extending beyond terms here. But, and Stacy, the clause is we have the ability to raise the rent on each anniversary, and the tenant would actually then have the opportunity to cancel. Is that correct?
I don't think there's a cancellation clause. They agree by entering into the ground lease or the extension to the fact that the board can review the ground rent and raise it.
Well, that's pretty one-sided.
That's how it goes. You've been to one airport, you've been to one airport. We have to treat them all the same.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'd move to approve the extension based on 10 years from the 2024 renewal, with also the understanding that we do get a chance to review this annually and adjust accordingly.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we extend the Dakota Air Parts ground lease from 2024 for 10 years to 2034 with our ability to raise rent as needed on an annual review.
That's already in there. Yep.
Okay, sounds good. Any other discussion? Voice vote? Or roll call, sorry.
Hagan,
Aye.
Lind,
Aye.
Cosgrove,
Aye.
Haugen,
Aye.
Lind.
Aye. You know, that discussion brings up an interesting point that maybe once things pick up again, we might want to look at our rates, because right now would not be a good time. And look at the lease rates, whether, like you said, it probably could have gone up to 27, but now we're probably at 23 for commercial. So, okay, thank you. John Cosgrove?
Yes.
If you haven't read the whole thread of communication that started this, you might want to do that. You probably have read it, but if you haven't, I scrolled all the way down and it added some insight that I thought was really interesting and good to know. Okay.
Which one are you referring to?
You what?
Mm,
That one is the Dakota Air Parts. And if you go to the very bottom,
Oh, okay.
and
Yeah.
so I just think that should be noted as well, just for you to understand probably the background. All right, let's authorize attendance at
Nobody likes their landlord.
authorize attendance at the 31st Annual Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting Working Group Conference, August 23rd to 26th in Orlando.
Got a request from Chief Bush. Are you on, Chief? He is there. There's a request to send two of our firefighters to the Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting Working Group Conference Training Symposium, August 23rd through 26th at Champions Gate in Orlando. So your concurrence to do that?
I'll make a motion to approve that, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's moved and seconded that we authorize attendance to the 31st Annual Aircraft Rescue and Firefighting Working Group. Any additional discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
Aye.
same sign. Motion carried. All right, let's go to receive proposals to upgrade HVAC control system for the West Side Terminal.
So you have two proposals before you from Direct Digital Control and the other from GNR Controls. The GNR was the lowest cost of $34,790, and this basically replaces the computer system that was put in when the terminal was expanded back in 2008, and it's way past its useful life. And I don't know, Darren, if Dan is here as well. The problems that we're having with the current system, it's time for an upgrade, and this is CARES eligible, but tell them what's happening.
So it started back in January where the system started crashing and we had to have GNR control come in and get rid of some error codes in there and get it back up and running. And 2 weeks later, after they were here, it started crashing again.
It's a Windows XP, which
Oh.
is no longer supported,
Supported.
and cannot buy any more components that work with it, so.
So basically, about 3 times a week, the whole system crashes.
Mhm.
And so far, we've been able to get it back up, but eventually it's gonna crash and not
Yeah.
get it up. And once we lose it, then we lose our ability to control the building.
We just took informal bids.
Okay. Questions?
No, Madam Chair, move
Yeah.
to accept the low bid,
Okay,
get it installed as soon as possible.
sounds good. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the low bid for HVAC. Could this be roll
Sure.
call? Roll call vote, please.
Megan?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Cosgrove? Cosgrove?
Roll
Yeah,
call
I gotta
vote.
quit getting
Okay.
them out of view.
Okay. Haugen? Haugen?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Okay, and this GNR was the original installer, so there's nobody that's gonna compete with. Everybody else would have to come in and redo the whole system, so
We did request a third, but they
they denied.
Yeah, so you
We're
got,
still at work.
you got
Yeah.
two.
We
Okay.
tried to get 3, got 2, and like I say, nobody could compete with GNR because it's their system.
Because it's
that's
their
in there.
system. Okay.
PERS updates. So Stacy, do you have anything on the PERS update? Or the song that doesn't end?
I do not. I did send another email out to Dean at the North Dakota Attorney General's office, as both Eric and I requested a letter from the AG's office regarding our discussion. So I'll just continue to follow up with him. So that's all I have on my end.
All right, email him every hour and call him every half hour.
Okay, I was gonna say, just be persistent, but keep the track, as you know, keep it in writing, because we need to get that information in writing from them. Thank you. Okay,
I will follow up today again.
you what? You'll call.
I'll follow up again today.
Perfect, thank you. Received letter of intent from Roger Tidd to lease office in the East Side Terminal.
This is a small 192 square foot office that Vox Telesis will be vacating at the end of July. Roger's rented from us before, and he's going to rent this, and he's got a patent on a little plastic cover that you put over an electrical outlet, I suppose, for painting. I don't know what it is. He's developed this little thing, and they're flying off the shelves. So you put it over the electrical outlet, and you can paint, and it works pretty good. So I'd recommend that you accept his letter of intent, and we'll drop a lease agreement for him next month so he can start to occupy August 1st. It's a 1-year
Motion.
agreement.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we extend a lease to Roger Tidd for the East Side Terminal. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, certify a mill levy to the Board of the City Commissioners for 2021 improvements per section 20614 in the North Dakota Sanitary Code.
Okay, so you received the preliminary budget at our last meeting, and to stay at 2 mills, I've consulted with Ben Hushka, the city assessor, a little bit with Mike Montplaisir. As you saw last night with the Fargo School Board, they're trying to finalize their mill levy, but the final mill amount really isn't finalized, other than we know it's about 623 to 625,000. So in order to be safe, what we would do is we would certify an amount of 1.4 million, not to exceed 2.0 mils. I think Ben and Mike felt comfortable with that. Last year we did like 1.25 million, not to exceed 2.0 mils, but that'll cover us. It'll be whatever the 2.0 mils is, but we have to certify a dollar amount, knowing that it's going to be something less than that once the final mill levy is known.
So it's 1.4 million, not to exceed 2.0 mils,
Correct.
okay? Any questions, any discussion?
Motion.
Okay,
Second.
second. It's been moved and seconded that we certify the mill levy at At 1.4 million, not to exceed 2 mils. Any discussion? John or Mike?
I think the way that works is that the amount that you certify to is the maximum. It's not, I understand how you're coming at this, but.
Yeah, this was the language that
If you pick a higher
Montplaisir,
number.
yeah.
If you pick a higher number, you can come down off it. You can't pick a lower number and go up.
That's correct. Yeah. So this is the language that Montplaisir gave us years ago. So that's how we've used it.
Yep.
Eric, Rick, you guys have anything?
No, John, would you like to see something higher than 1.4 million?
No, I'd like to see it much lower. I don't like taxes.
Yeah.
Neither do I.
Neither do I.
We're picking a high number.
All right.
Was that a motion to eliminate taxes? All in favor?
I know. All right, it's been moved
We can
and,
do it here. Let's go.
it's been moved and seconded to stay at 2 mils, but to, at 1.4 million, not to exceed 2 mils. According to Century Code 2-06-14.
Roll.
Roll call vote, please.
Engen,
Aye.
Lind,
Aye.
Cosgriff,
Aye.
Haugen,
No.
Lind.
Aye. All right, airport construction update and security update.
Terry, why don't you give an update on the snow removal equipment building? There's some walls up over there and lots of things happening.
Yeah, they're moving along. We got, I believe the south wall and the west wall are poured. They're working on, there's kind of an interior wall that creates those, big walls that separate the sand and salt from the rest of the bay. So we're moving along. We've been doing a lot of horsing around with, tanks in terms of, sizes and stuff like that needed to be modified to get the equipment that we wanted on them differently, but that's really, I don't think there's no cost involved in that. They're just having to do a different kind of tank, evidently, a longer and kind of not as big a diameter to get the equipment on them the way we want them and the fuel capacity that we were getting after. So other than that, I think things are going pretty well. The schedule that I received basically has them completed in February. So the idea would be is, we should be able to have the SRE, hopefully putting some machinery in there depending on, occupancy, code issues, stuff like that. They're moving along. Other than our, we had a little, issue with the city on getting the retainage pond right. Reed Hunt finally got that done. Jeff could speak more to that, but so we have a much larger retaining pond than we did before, and we are putting the tanks in a little farther northerly spot than we originally thought we would because of their depth and proximity to the building. So other than that, it's going pretty well.
Good. Thank you. Any questions? Any comments? All right. Thanks, Terry.
The car rental lot will start here in the next week or so. They're going to start setting up some things for the temporary lot, and on July 1st, the car rental agencies will use the short-term lot, the west half of the short-term lot, for their ready lot. So that's been put together by Mead & Hunt. As far as the grants, we submitted the grants on June 15th for the supplemental and the cargo apron grant, and sometime in the next 3 weeks, we hope to have both grants in order. You'll notice we had a couple of calls from people that have a lot of corn stalks and debris blowing into the yards up north of the airport. They didn't harvest that corn until about 2 months ago. Unfortunately, the tenant farmer is not going to put a crop in up there this year. They're going to take advantage of the Farm Service Preventative Plant Program. They will till it and then put a cover crop on in August in accordance with the preventative plant area. So all of that property north of 52nd Avenue between County 31 and 25th Street will be basically summer fallow this year under the preventative plant program. So if you have any questions or comments from anyone, that's what's happening up there. Let's see. I guess we can go on to the PEC.
Okay.
I don't have anything else.
Any questions for Sean? All right. I'm just going to give an update on the PEC meeting that we had June 10th. It was a really good meeting, and several of you were there and really appreciated that. Couple things that, I gave a presentation about the history of the PEC and specifics about the MOU. And it was brought up early in the discussion that we would hope that Judge Klein, who is a mediator, could attend one of the meetings. However, it was unlikely, but someone was going to ask her. As a follow-up to that, we've actually, Assistant City Manager has been trying to set up a meeting for several of us to do a Zoom meeting or telephonically with Judge Klein to get a better understanding of the MOU. Now, this would not be the PEC people, but I think it's Rick, you're on that, I'm on that, and still, I'm not sure why. I mean, what's in writing is in writing, and I think they just want, because I wasn't there, and because some other people weren't there, they wanted to ask her questions. And again, I'm a firm believer, what's in writing is in writing, and it has to be very specific. So I'm looking forward to that meeting, see if they can shed some insight into the understanding of the MOU and the process. The other thing there's a couple things. One is we talked about the ARF, the ADK study, and so we expect that probably by the end of the month. At that time, what'll happen? What?
Madam Chairman, before we leave the discussion with the mediator, and once again, as the new person, I came in, I read the agreement, and then I've talked to both the airport authority and the city.
Yeah.
And there's different interpretations, I believe, on both sides.
Okay.
And as the new party coming in the middle here, if you listen to the interpretations on both sides, they both have the equal merit and reason behind it. But even though it is a very tightly written document, there's, I believe, interpretation. And I think it would be very, very helpful if both sides could, participate in that discussion, because
they are.
I think you meant when you were working on another portion of it that there is a misunderstanding under Section 11. I believe it's probably the one that's most. And I don't know if formally those are positions held by the airport authority in the city, or if it's individual, but it would help, I believe, to have some work around that agreement.
Thank you, John. And there are both, it's all of us as a group are meeting, yeah. I think what's interesting too is that, because I've worked with Judge Klein on other mediations, as you know, both groups are in different rooms. So really, like you said, it's going to be important that she helps us understand what was going on in the different rooms, and so the interpretation is much more in line with what it's supposed to be. Let's put it that way. So I agree, and I think this will be a good meeting, and I think it's set for July 6th now. So, but yeah, any insight that you have, John, I'm happy to listen to. I think that version of the MOU was I quit counting at 20. So I mean, it was really I just like, oh, that's it. But there was a lot of discussion, and it was, and again, the mediation was good, and I think Judge Klein did a great job.
You have to understand that the MOU is about, you have
What?
to understand that the MOU, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that these are individual discussions with the people involved. They're not formal positions taken by either the city or the airport authority. But the result is sort of the thought process of how the agreement should work, I believe is misunderstood on both sides. And yeah, you know, you can read the agreement, and I think you can move to either side and say, okay, I read it that way. Or,
State statute's pretty clear.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, and we'll bring up to Judge Klein what state statute says as well. Because I think that's the whole, you know, probably the elephant in the room is, and that's one of the reasons why I want to make sure that Stacy and Eric's conference call with the AG office is put in writing. Because, you know, way past yours and my years here, one of the reasons why we have this difficult situation is because of the MOU that was written decades ago that was so open for interpretation. So when we went into this whole process, we wanted to make sure it was very succinct and specific, so way past us, that they won't have to go through what we just went through the last 2 years. And Sean? Do you have a question?
Well, the whole thing with the MOU is, you know, 99.9% of the people in this community could care less about the MOU. This is about how 26 employees get paid, what benefits they have access to, how our phone rings, how the computer works, and what accounting system we get access to. People don't care about that. What they care about is how the airport and the city, the park district, the county, city of West Fargo, and others get along in terms of air service development. What are you doing about easements and right-of-ways and planning and zoning and planning around the airport? That's what they care about. This agreement is about 26 people. That is really, you know, it is what it is, but that's not what the people in this community care about. But for some reason, they believe that they have to have an agreement to do those other things that this authority has done for over 51 years. They've always cooperated and generated, and I give you a list of things that we've done in cooperation and collaboration with the city, which will continue with or without an MOU. Those are what public entities do between each other. So if you think there's going to be any different interpretation between parties, I'm not sure, but this has gone on long enough.
Okay, thank you. Going back to the PEC committee, so once the ARF study comes in, basically what will happen is if the study shows that they're in line with the compensation packages of the city, the PEC will not meet to discuss it. And again, just some background, we talked about the employees that might possibly, the employee positions that might possibly go before the PEC. And I would like to recommend that that we get a compensation study, another one, an updated compensation study for executive director and the AD. I don't know if we need a motion on that. I think we could just, I don't think we ever did a motion for the other ones. We just directed you to do it. Okay. Then the other thing is about the open meeting law and the interpretation. Whether we are to be held under the North Dakota open meeting law requirements, which is not a problem if we're required to do that. Of course we will do that, and we will do that until that PEC, until we get a formal opinion from the AG. There was a lot of discussion because the city does not require theirs to be, their employee compensation committee does not require open meeting law. And so I think, Stacy, you've contacted them about that, is that correct?
So I do have a call into Eric to have a further discussion on that, and I will be contacting the Attorney General's office requesting an opinion. But I'll say with the research I've done with the North Dakota open meetings laws, I feel as though this PEC needs to be open. But we can get an Attorney General's opinion to tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Sounds good. Any questions on that?
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
Madam Chairman, is there a reason we wouldn't want it open? We're not talking about individual performance and pay scales, we're talking about position. I mean, when you're down to positions only held by one person, it's kind of problematic, but within the city, all the salaries and everything are public record. Any disciplinary stuff would not be handled at the position evaluation committee. So my take on open meetings is if you have any question, open the meeting. Don't try to work around it.
No, and that's why we're getting the AG opinion. I guess the point was there might be 20 people in a position that the city, but in our situation, there's only 5 or 6 employees that would possibly go before it. And yes, it is a position, but if you've got one person holding all these 5 or 6 employees only holding one position, and that's where it makes it a little bit.
Yeah, all the city salaries and everything are open record. You can look and see the salary of any city employee. You can't see individual employee records, but classified position is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stacy, but you pick any city employee, if you know their job title and class, you can look at their salary. Correct?
Well, you could look at the salary range. And I guess that was kind of why we started at this, is because the positions that we've listed on the bottom of the first page are positions that are vastly different than any position compensation scale that the city has, and that's why the whole PEC was established. So, yeah. But you know what? Either way.
And I'll just, yeah, I do have to jump off here. I've got another commitment now, but after serving on the city commission and trying to figure out what was public, what wasn't, I just came to the conclusion that it's much simpler just to have open public meetings. And yes, at times it's uncomfortable, but it is the public's meeting. It's the taxpayer dollars that support this. And
Well, these aren't taxpayer dollars.
let it go.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
These aren't taxpayer dollars we're talking about.
Salaries are not paid by
Salaries are
taxpayer
not
dollars.
paid by taxpayer dollars.
They're paid by service
Yeah.
user fees.
So they're paid by user fees. Yeah. I know when I was on city commission too.
Where you start splitting hairs between, you do receive taxpayer funding. You just certified a mill levy, which is taxpayer dollars. And as an operation, you're receiving taxpayer dollars and have to be responsible to the citizens to pay those dollars.
I agree that we have to be good stewards with its taxpayer money, and it goes to infrastructure of the airport, building projects and so forth, but it does not go for public, it does not go for salaries or anything like that. So that is the distinction, that is the, we're not splitting hairs.
And that again is the bifurcation of, you're an entity that has the support of taxpayer dollars, which brings you into this realm of open meetings, open records. And to start parsing and saying, no, this is not taxpayer dollars, we don't have to meet open records. I just think we're chasing ourselves down a rabbit hole that it really isn't necessary.
Sounds, thank you for that, and that's one of the reasons why we're holding them open. And you bet. And until anything else happens, we will continue to hold them open, which the chairman, there was a chairman selected, and the chairman is Jane Pettinger, and you can see the motions there. I was nominated and selected to be the secretary, so I would take all the minutes. I personally felt it was important that we not put Joan or the staff of the airport authority, because this was not, the PEC came in the MOU, but it doesn't have anything, it really is a responsibility of the PEC. So I felt real strongly that we did not use our staff here to do that. And you can see the rest of the
Madam
motions.
Chairman, sorry, but I do have to leave at this point.
Not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you, John.
Thanks.
All right, and anything else to come before the meeting? All right, meeting is adjourned.